to do when you have too much room in your head.
Like me. I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winers. And we are going to explain what we're drinking first.
I have grape Kool-Aid seltzer.
And I have a blackberry cider. And there are videos on both of them, and I recommend watching them and trying them because they're really good.
Mine is very flavorful. It's probably the most flavorful seltzer we've made.
And this is a great, dry, but fruity cider that you can tell is apple, but definitely can tell it's blackberry. So we did well on that one. I recommend it highly.
We like doing well.
Yes.
So today we're doing a real basic one. We actually kind of covered these in a lot of other videos, but we realized we haven't ever done one video where we talk about how to offset too much headroom in your wine and why that might be a problem and ways that we have found to overcome that. So the first thing is that it's usually only wine, grape wine, either red or white, where it's usually even a consideration. With seltzers and apple juice and lemonade, it's not something we really are concerned about. It's the problem with wine and how grapes can oxidize, and too much oxygen can damage the wine, damage it in the way that either it doesn't taste as good or doesn't look as good, or both. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's overblown in our opinion. We've not had it really happen that we could put a finger on ever with any of the wines that we've made, but we have always, because at the very beginning of our winemaking, we knew that it was possibly a concern, so we've always watched out for it. So it hasn't happened to us. Maybe that's because we are somewhat careful to make sure that there isn't too much oxygen at the top.
Right. But
it's this barrier, this level, and this is just water in here, and we're not sure how hard that's going to be to see on camera. So we have a little bit of blue. Add a little bit of blue food coloring. Ooh.
That was a lot of blue food.
It doesn't take a lot. It's like an octopus just threw up in our...
A squid just inked.
Now you should be able to see it.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, now I'm distracted. Glad this octopus is gone, the squid. So you can see that we intentionally left that much room at the top. In my opinion, this is probably too much room. There's a buffer of oxygen that's going to be constantly moving in there and touching the wine, and that's where the danger of oxidation can come from. Mm-hmm. So we usually want there to only be at most like an inch to possibly an inch and a quarter. So this would be too much headroom in our opinion. And again, the danger of it damaging it is pretty small, but why take the chance on a wine that you've put a lot of time and effort into? So
true.
The first way that we've done this, maybe we'll switch off. Why don't you do the first way and I'll do the second way?
Well, I mean, you're the one who loses your marbles, so you might... No.
This bag was full at one point.
It was. We use marbles for all kinds of things now.
So we use marbles to keep our sanitized jars sanitized by putting on a marble at the top. And that makes it so no bugs of either insect kind or bacteria kind can get in because it seals the top.
Mm-hmm. We also use it on jars that actually have a beverage in it.
These are clean. These were up on top of our refrigerator, and they've been cleaned and they've been sanitized. Those are two different things. They've been washed in the dishwasher, and then we sanitize them. And then we put the marble in there, and as long as there's a marble on top when we grab it, we know it's still sanitized.
Yep.
If the marble is gone, we're probably going to re-sanitize it. So that's totally off topic, but that's one of the big uses.
But what we first started using marbles for was this particular problem, because we got really taste happy on a few of our Merlots that we were doing flavors with, the mocha and the coffee and whiskey and bourbon, and so
infused.
We had to taste them a lot because they change as they're sitting there and aging, and we wanted to get it to be the right thing. So every time we tasted it, it would keep going down and down.
Be more and more out.
So we started using lead-free, food-safe marbles.
That's very important. If you're buying these on Amazon, you need to actually find the ones that are lead-free, food-safe. because 99% of the ones that are on Amazon are Chinese cheap marbles that are not either of those things. You do not want to
Do not want those.
You do not want to put them in your drinks or food,
So
or give them to your kids, which may go into their mouths.
Yeah, good point.
You don't need to actually put them in there.
You don't
we
want
gotta
me to put them in? Okay, that's true. I forgot.
This would take quite a few marbles.
It would.
And I don't want to touch these
And you
because
have
these are sanitized.
You have to do them a couple at a time too, so you don't.
Yeah, if you do too many at a time, you could crack your container.
Yeah.
So drop them in one at a time. So that's why these kind of fell out of favor with us, because it takes a long time to get them in, and it takes a long time to get them out.
Yeah, they are kind of pain. And if you don't catch all of them, one goes into the disposal, and that's a whole thing.
Yeah, we have a lot of half marbles
Me too.
from the disposal. So that is a good way, though. It does work. It's just not our preferred method anymore.
All right.
The next way of doing it is these. These are pickle weights, and they're called that because they're mainly used for pickling, but they work really good for winemaking. And as you can see, they're a lot bigger, and it takes a whole lot fewer of them, but you do have the same problem. Be careful when you drop them in, because if they hit the bottom too hard, potential of cracking. So you can try to tip the bottle and let them slide down, or however. Or you can put them in a bag.
Which works a lot better.
The only problem with that is you have to you put a couple in and drop it down and see how much it diffuses.
It's true,
displaces the wine that's in there. But this does it a lot quicker than the marbles do, and these are a lot easier to get out. The trade-off is that these are a little more expensive, but we use these for also weighting down our bags when we put fruit in. Which coincidentally, or not coincidentally, is the third way that we offset the headroom.
That is true.
Which makes it your turn.
Oh, that we add fruit to it?
Yeah.
So we take this bag, this sanitized bag, and we put pasteurized fruit in the bag and add it to our jar.
Depending on what it is that we're making, like what we just got done working on our last video segment was blackberry infused Cabernet. So that's a very easy, practical way of offsetting the headroom at the top, is to put fruit in your bag and put the bag in there if you're looking for a fruit infusion, and that offsets headroom. And you put a couple of these weights in there because you don't want this bag to float at the top.
Right.
The weight will make the bag go to the bottom, so between the two, you offset your headroom. And again, we're not saying you don't want to take the level of wine up to
the top
here. An inch and a half, inch and a quarter, right in this area it's fine to leave. When you get up to where the actual neck of the jar starts, that's what we usually aim for. And that's not a lot of oxygen that's going to be potentially messing with your wine.
But you're not going to splash it out when you have to do something to it if it's all the way up here to the top. So, yeah. Okay.
So another way, and this is the way that we were actually taught in the very beginning, was just add water to it. Well, what happens when you add water to your wine? It ends up being a weaker wine.
Which we don't like.
That's not, in our opinion, that's one of the worst ways of doing it. I'd rather leave the headroom than water my wine down.
True.
So, but that is a way that you can look at doing. And one way that we have done it, when we had extreme cases of headroom, like maybe we only had 3/4 of a gallon, is we'll add another wine that's similar. Either wine that we made that's the same exact variety, or in some cases, one particular wine, we had a 4-gallon container of it, and there was only 2 gallons of wine because of some splitting that we had done. So we went and bought 4 black box Cabernets to put in this Cabernet to fill it up. And then it aged that way for 6 months or more. And that ended up being a really good wine. It
actually was really good. And even with our own wines, let's say this was a Merlot, and we wanted to take up this space, we could add a cab to it, one of our cabs, to make a little blend. So
blending be strategic on it. You can make your wine better doing that.
Yeah.
And it also can fill up that headroom.
Yep. That's my preferred way.
So
Add more wine.
So that was 2. You can add water. I wouldn't recommend do that. You can add a wine, and that is a good way of doing it.
Yep.
Maybe better than any of these, depending on what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, and I had thought about actually pouring this in to demonstrate this, but because of this being blue and dogs underneath and all that,
and clothes,
I don't know that I want to do that now because this is really blue. So
blue stains.
Take my word for it. If you've got this much headroom here, and you put this into 2 containers that are half the size, so this is a 1 gallon, these are half gallons, you will cut your headroom in half by pouring those into these 2 half gallons. Each one will have half of what this is, so it actually will take these up to about where the lip is. And this is a way that we've used a lot of times, not necessarily for the headroom issue, but when we want to do 2 different varieties of the same wine. So maybe we want malolactic fermentation to happen on this one and we don't want it on this one, we'll split it, and just because we want to have 2 different varieties of the same wine, but at the same time we also reduce the headroom at the top. So that's a good strategy to do it, and it can be useful, again, depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. Nothing says you have to make them different when you split them. You can keep them the same.
Yeah.
You can do it just to try to get your headroom down. So those are the ways that we have dealt with headroom. And again, headroom is definitely in the winemaking forum community. It's overrated. It's not as big of an issue as people will make it sound, and we can say that from experience.
You're going to get hate comments now.
So be it. But it is something to watch out for, especially in extreme cases. I would call this, where this level is, I would call that a dangerous level where I probably would want to try to raise it up a little bit if this is going to be sitting for any amount of time. But normally, unless it's this or worse, we don't normally care. But if you do care, and if you have these issues, these are some ideas. And I'm sure you've got lots of ideas that you can share with us of other ways of displacing headroom.
Yeah, please do.
One last comment on oxidation in some kinds of wine. It's actually very desired.
I was going to say that earlier.
I'll let her say the rest of it.
No, I was going to say it earlier, and I thought, well, I'd save it to the end, and then I almost forgot.
What wines have we...
We have done a couple of them that actually get better with oxidation. Oxidization?
Oxidation.
Oh, oxidation. I can't speak. Words are hard. The ports that we do, we oxidize them intentionally. Madeira.
I believe we did it with
Sherry.
sherry.
Am I missing one?
Those are the main ones.
Those are the main dessert wines.
And in those, just having this gap of air at the top is not enough unless you're going to let it sit for 10, 15 years, which we don't do that. So in that case, we will pump air through it. So we do have a video on that you can watch if you're really wanting to oxidize your wine.
Oh, and also vinegar.
Vinegar also needs,
Yep.
And in that case, the lid, the top of the container is left off, and we usually use like a cheesecloth or a bag
something
to
like that.
seal it from insects and whatever. But yeah, that's another one where oxygen is desired. And that is proof that oxidation is a thing, because that does ruin, that turns wine into vinegar.
Yep.
But there are other, you're adding ingredients to that wine to cause that reaction to start.
True.
And the oxygen just helps it along. So I think that's probably where the overblownness of the danger of oxidation actually can't happen, was people seeing what happened when vinegar is made.
Right.
And we have left, half a glass of wine out for a week, and you come back and it smells like vinegar, and it loses a lot of the liquid. So yeah, oxidation does happen, but in practical winemaking, most likely it needs to be more extreme than what you see here and for a longer amount of time.
Well, I mean, if you just left the lid off of this, then yeah, there's obviously going to be a problem.
You can tell your story about the vinegar you're trying to make.
Okay, so I was trying to make vinegar with black cherry wine that we didn't really love the outcome of the wine.
Yeah, we weren't fans of it.
And so I took the first gallon and made this really amazing vinegar out of it, and I used it all on my cucumber tomato salads over the summer. So I wanted some more. So I came down here and got my jars all ready, and I actually did it in a jar this size. Normally I use our 750 milliliter flip tops, and I just leave the flip off and put cheesecloth over it. Works really well. Well, I decided I was just going to do a whole gallon, so, you know, why put it into bottles? So I just put cheesecloth over this, and I stuck it in our hot water heater room.
Which is going to be 85 degrees.
Which is where I normally put the vinegar, and
then she forgot about it.
I forgot about it, and I came down here, I don't know, probably 2 months had gone by.
Months later.
And there was nothing in the jar. It was literally a tiny bit of cake in the bottom. That's how it just disappeared.
It all evaporated. So that's an extreme case.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen.
It is an extreme case.
So her good vinegar, she could take the cake and probably add water to it, and it has something that resembled vinegar again that nobody should drink.
I thought about it, but no.
One last thing.
Yes.
And the only reason I thought of it is because it's sitting here from our last taping by accident. Another way of dealing with headroom is by adding oak. If you're dealing with a red wine, oak, this is a little different than the fruit, because almost every red wine you're going to probably want to put oak in. So oak cubes will displace the wine and get rid of your headroom problem.
Yes, they will.
So glad that was accidentally sitting here, because I would have forgot about it.
I would have forgot about it too. Okay guys, thank you for watching another one of our videos. I know this one was short and sweet and kind of to the point, but it's good information, and please leave comments below if you have other ideas on how to offset headroom. We'd love to hear what your ideas are. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and if you have, we appreciate you guys. And until next time, cheers!